All right. Nice and short. All right. Who's the author of this psalm? We don't know. Yep. We don't know. 124 had a song of degrees of David, and the other one, then it was a song of degrees of degrees. We could guess it's for David. It was David, but it doesn't actually say. Yeah.
Matthew Henry said it's possibly Ezra or a prophet returning from the great Babylonian captivity.
Yeah, there are some things about here that makes it seem like they're coming back from exile. So, maybe it seems like it was written a little bit later and then kind of put in there. So there's a real possibility there, Ezra or Nehemiah maybe. But we don't know for certain, just some context clues in the psalm itself. What's the occasion of the writing of this psalm? Again, unknown, but if it is Ezra or Nehemiah, then it would be the occasion of coming back from the Babylonian captivity, coming back to the land. I did see some commentators that said it wasn't really probably that, but I don't remember why they said that it wasn't. So, but Matthew Henry is a good one to look to. All right, so what about some key words there? When Dan read it, what are some things you heard? And when I say key words, we're kind of, and this is just, it's more of an exercise to get you reading it over and over. I don't know about you, but when I study these Psalms, especially when they're short like this, I read it probably 20 times. You read it a couple times and you just notice some words, and you notice, I'm getting you to look for words and ideas that are there. So we either look for repeated words that show up more than once, sometimes 3, 4, 5, 6 times, words that are contrasting, unique words, and then words that are kind of grouped together. So I've got some examples of that in my own notes here, but what are some things that you noticed with the words? Dan? Yeah, the word captivity shows up a couple times, so that's kind of a big indicator of what the theme might be. Yeah, good. Dewey? What? Yeah, and that's the other thing. It's not really that, it doesn't show up in a lot of other Psalms, so it's kind of unique there. Dewey?
Restoration, joy, and hope.
All right, restoration, joy, and hope. Good. Yeah, Sarah?
Singing, joy, rejoicing, in contrast to the captivity.
Yeah, so there's some contrasting ideas, but there are a lot of joy words: laughter, singing, joy, rejoicing. Yeah, and in contrast to some of the more sorrowful things like captivity, tears, weepeth. So yeah, good. Anybody else? I thought I saw another hand. Sharon.
Great things.
Great things. Yeah, we see that phrase twice and kind of right in a row. Yeah, good. Great things. Anybody else? Yeah, so I noticed repeated words: captivity, great things, turn. Contrasting words, you had tears and joy, weeping and rejoicing, heathen and Zion. So kind of different ideas kind of that are contrasted. There are some unique words. The word reap is the only time it's found in the book of Psalms, the word reap. Doubtless, that's the only time that word doubtless is found in Psalms. Words like sow, streams, and dream, all those are, it's not the only time that they show up, but they show up just a handful of times, not very much in Psalms. So good. Okay, well, let's read it again, and this time we're going to be looking for a theme. And when I say theme, I mean, if you notice in the back of the booklet that we have, there's a list of blanks of all the different Psalms. And my idea initially was that you would take each of these themes and write it in the back. So that way, at one glance, you could see, oh yeah, that's what Psalm 126 was about. So if I said, for instance, Psalm 51, do you know right off the bat what Psalm 51 is about? That's the confession psalm of David after he sinned with Bathsheba. Okay? Psalm 73, that's the lamenting of the wicked, that the wicked always get all these great things. So if you can kind of summarize it, then it would be great to have that on the list. And that way you can see, oh yeah, that's what that one was about. So that's kind of what we're looking for when I say a theme, kind of a summary phrase. So that's what we're going to be looking for. And I'm not going to do all this explanation every week, but this is just our first time through, and so that's what we're doing. So kind of a summary theme. So somebody want to read this again, and then we can look for those themes. Now, hopefully you found it on your own. It's a little hard to do it as you're here, but if you think about it a little bit. So, Alice.
Psalm 126, the Psalm of Degrees. When the Lord turned again the captivity of Zion, you were like them that dream. Then was our mouth filled with laughter, and our tongue with singing. Then said they among the
Okay, good. Now, again, this exercise of finding the theme is to get you to, as you read through it, think about what's the major idea of this psalm, the one major idea, and especially what's the one major idea that sets it apart from other psalms? Because, I mean, half the psalms you could say praise God, right? but obviously, for me growing up, all the psalms sounded the same. And now as you study them, and especially as you remember, oh yeah, that's the psalm where this was there. So that's kind of what we're looking at, the grand idea. Anybody have like a good grand idea phrase of this psalm? Sarah? Rejoicing at God's deliverance. See, now that's perfect because there's the idea of rejoicing and the idea of captivity, but it's being turned. So rejoicing in God's deliverance. And again, if you could somehow memorize all these little themes, then when someone mentions Psalm 126, you're like, oh, that's the one where they're rejoicing in God's deliverance. And that's right. That's what it's about. Now, again, that's not to say that there aren't other psalms that do that, but this one especially, rejoicing in God's deliverance. Good. Yeah. Anybody else? Amy? Joyful restoration. Yeah, good. Yeah, I put learning to rejoice while in captivity. Or hope for return in the midst of exile. Yeah, good. Anybody else? Okay, I also put the turning of sorrow into joy even when all seems lost. Just kind of a longer one. All right, so now what's the tone of this? As you read this, some of the tones are a little more like angry. Get my enemies, get them good. Some of them are lamenting. Why is it like this? Why are you so far away? What's the tone of this psalm, do you think? Dan?
Rejoicing.
That's the word I used, rejoicing. Yeah, it's in the psalm, and it just seems a little more jubilant. There's nothing sad in here. I mean, he talks about tears, but it's not a great indicator that he's the one crying. Just that they that sow in tears shall reap in joy. So yeah, rejoicing. Anybody else concur with that or add to it? Everyone's just so happy to go along with Dan's suggestion. I am too. All right. So what do you learn about God in this psalm? You know, many of the psalms teach us something. You can get a lot of theology in the psalms. At the nursing home, I'm studying Psalm 139, and I realize like how much of God's omnipotence and omnipresence is talked about there in Psalm 139. So, and that's like the major psalm for the idea of God's omnipresence, right? So you learn a lot about God's character. What do we learn about God from this psalm? Do we?
That God's hand would be on them as they restored their lives.
Yeah, God's hand is on those who are having their lives restored. Yeah, good. Good. Anybody else? Sharon?
When I read this, I kind of thought that because these people had been in captivity for so long, I'm sure they prayed and prayed and prayed all the time to ask to not be in captivity. And so I thought that it shows that God answers long-term prayers.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
So, and I was happy about that.
Yeah. Oh, the prayers that you pray over and over, and you're like, Lord, I'm still praying. I'm still here. Yeah. Yeah. It seemed like they prayed. I'm just going to repeat it for people watching online or whatever, but the people that were praying for the captivity to turn had maybe been praying for a long time. So it teaches us that God is someone who answers long-term prayer. Even though he's patient with us, even though it seems like a long time, he does answer. Yeah. Good. Anybody else? Yeah, Terry.
God grants joy after sorrow.
Yeah, he grants joy after sorrow. Yeah, this is a great psalm for that, knowing that God grants joy after sorrow. Good. Well, how might this psalm be helpful in your life? And by that question, I mean, what's the kind of, so if you think of all these psalms as like medicine bottles, right? That's often what the psalms are. I've talked to so many people who, they're like, yeah, psalms are nice, I guess. But then when they go through a real valley, they're like, wow, I had no idea. The psalms just sprang to life. All of a sudden they were in color because it's such a mixture of human emotions. So what's the thing that you would need Psalm 26 for? What are the symptoms that you would have that you'd reach for that medicine bottle that says Psalm 126 on it? Sarah?
Knowing that God can, if he wills it, turn terrible events into amazing results.
What would you know about that? Yeah. Yeah. Amen. Yeah. So knowing that God can turn terrible events into just ways to rejoice in him. I'm teasing you. You don't mind, do you? Okay. That's great. Yeah. Yeah, knowing he brought us into the captivity for good reasons, and that if his will is, he's going to bring us out with joy. He brought the tears, but he can wipe those tears away too. Yeah, that's so good. Good. Anybody else? How might this psalm be helpful? Yeah, Dewey?
You mentioned Psalm 139, and look to God for everything,
Mm-hmm.
for he knows it all.
Yeah,
He knows what every one of us are going to be doing at 10 o'clock tomorrow.
yeah,
Even tonight he knows it.
yeah. Yeah, all the needs you have, God knows about them already. They're in captivity and they're saying, God, turn this, and he's already got the plans in the works. Yeah, good. I wrote down, when we reflect on the great things that God has done for us, those reminders should give us hope for the future joy. In the midst of asking for blessings is the recognition of our responsibility to sow. So this idea, he says, the Lord has done great things for us, right? There's a recognition he's already done these great things. And so when he prays, Lord, do this, turn our captivity, he's basing it on what God's already done, God's character. And so that's just good for us as we think about the things that we're praying for. Lord, you already did this in this area in my life or in the Bible or whatever. God, that's why I'm basing this on. My faith is basing this on that. Yeah. Any others? Okay. Well, let's read it one more time. And this time we're looking for the outline. Now, the outline is admittedly the toughest part. It's easier for me because I've learned how to do that. Anytime I preach on a text, I'm doing the very same thing I'm asking you to do. Find the major idea of the text, and then you break it down to the supporting kind of ideas under that. So there is always in a psalm a progression of thought. This. And it doesn't always have to be chronological. Sometimes it's God is love, he's peace, he's angry at the wicked. You know, it could be something like that. But I keep saying progression of thought. I need to come up with a different phrase, but some way to delineate the ideas that are going through the psalm. So that's what we're looking for when we say outline. And again, this is an exercise to get you thinking about the psalm on a deeper level. You've already looked for the words that are there. That's led you to find the theme, a summary. You're thinking about it in an abstract way and not just in a concrete way. Now you're taking those ideas, going back into the psalm and finding the ideas that how this psalm unfolds, how it's kind of put together. So do I have one more volunteer to read Psalm 126? We'll look for the outline and then a good verse to memorize. Seth.
Psalm 126. When the Lord turned again the captivity of Zion, we were like them that dream. Then our mouth filled with laughter, and our tongue with singing. Then said they among the heathen, the Lord hath done great things for them. The Lord hath done great things for us, whereof we are glad. Turn again our captivity, O Lord, as the streams in the south. They that sow in tears shall reap in joy. He that goeth forth and weepeth, bearing precious seed, shall doubtless come again with rejoicing, bringing his sheaves with him.
All right, good. Who wants to be first in the outline as you thought through this? Dan.
1, remembering captivity. 2 and 3, the Lord's goodness to us. 4, asking for deliverance. 5 and 6, the Lord is faithful and good to us.
Yeah, good. Good. I'm not going to repeat that for you watching online. You just had to be here. You missed it, but it was good. Yeah, good. Anybody else? Dewey.
1 through 3, praise for past restoration. 4, prayer for renewal. 5 and 6, promise of future joy.
Good. Yeah, good. I'm as you're reading it, I'm looking at mine and it's very, very similar. Yeah. And that's, I think, the idea that all of us would kind of come to the same conclusions because there's one way that the psalm goes. Sarah, I saw your hand.
Verse 1, admitting that God allowed the captivity. 2 and 3, admitting how great things he is doing and can do. And 4 through 6, admitting that current sorrow can turn into its wonderful joy.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, very good. Good. I put 1 and 2, the possibility of joy. Verse 2, the reason for joy. Or verse 3, the reason for joy. Verse 4, the prayer for joy. And verses 5 and 6, the hope for joy. Anybody else? Anybody else? I also put, so I always try to come up with more than just one, just because it's, I don't know, I like doing it. But verses 1 through 3, a memory of what God has done. Verse 4, a prayer for God's deliverance. And then verses 5 and 6, a promise for those who will trust in him. So, good. All right, what's a good verse to memorize? There's so many in this psalm. Some of them, you just know it right away, and some you're like, oh man, I think the whole psalm would be worth memorizing. And maybe one of these days we will. I'd like to go back to a psalm memorization. We did Psalm 121 once, and that was really good. But if you had to just pick one, what would it be? Benjamin, verse number 5, they that sow in tears shall reap in joy. That's good. Yeah, Dewey? Verse 3, the Lord hath done great things for us, whereof we are glad. There was a chorus, I think, that we used to sing. The Lord hath done great things for us, whereof we are glad. I'm not getting the tune right. Anyway. Alice is laughing. I don't know. I knew it as soon as I started to sing it, and then like 15 other songs are like, oh, it's me, it's me. Anybody else? 3 and 5? We're all in agreement? Huh? 3 as well? Yeah. Good. I picked verse 6, but only because it makes me think of Jeannie. So, all right. Well, good. Well, next week is prayer meeting. 2 weeks is Psalm 127. And look at that. It's 5 verses. So short again. And now that you've gotten the hang of it, now that we've taught you how to go through the Psalms, bless you. Bless you. Now that we've taught you how to go through the Psalms, the next one will be much, much easier, and you'll get a lot out of it. Now, the reason I put that book together is so that you can keep all those Psalms in one place. You can put it on your bookshelf somewhere, and next time you're reading through the Psalms, or next time you need just something to kind of remind yourself, you can bring that out and kind of look at what you've written. So any kind of notes you put in there, even from our time tonight, maybe you listen to Sarah and you're like, that's actually really good. I'm going to write her outline down, or I'm going to write some of those things down. That's a wonderful thing. It's a great thing to have with you. Now, you maybe at the end of every psalm, you just throw the thing away. That's between you and the Lord. But my hope is that you'd have it as kind of a resource for yourself. So. And if you've done all of it with you, which probably not very many of you have done all 6 sections. This is the 6th section. But you would have all those on your shelf. So, and if you missed, you missed. I'm sorry. All right.